What's going down, everyone? So this one's going to be kind of fun. One of the reasons why I set this up is because I finally got my computer rig to do a decent 4K UHD. It's not full HDR. I figured out that I believe it might be the Elgato card that's actually preventing it from going full HDR when you're trying to split it directly versus like just a PC outlay, which like gives you a really good like stream video HDR. But this is the closest thing I can get where it allows me to do the game of UHD, kind of like the compromise, where it's not just like the computer itself is in full HDR mode. But we're here for benchmarks, and if you're in tune with this is me giving you what you want, which is really cool settings. So first and foremost, one of the cool things that I was able to get into, if you go to graphics, and you go into the graphics, go to custom. That way you can just kind of lay out your own thing. Now personally myself, as you can see, it's just basic stuff for like the contrast, the brightness, VSync's on. I necessarily don't try to mess with this. If I had like ultra low settings and I was like in an FPS, yeah, I might maybe, if it's coming down to a point of limitations of trying to get more clarity versus just turnability and shooting someone. Now, when you come down to those custom FPS limits, they could probably go directly into the set where that will activate this. So if we were to functionally click that into an on mode, it gives you this where you can input what you want. But for me, I'm cool with it like fluctuating because this is a benchmark. I want to see what it naturally runs at and show you guys and gals what the best setting is. There is a sweet spot, and I'm going to show you exactly what you need to do in order to ascertain that if you do have an AMD Radeon VII or VII, or technically just the Vega 2. But it's pretty cool. You can run this on pretty sweet settings. So straight off the bat, one thing that you will notice is like the shadowing and the shadow spots will be within its normal thing, and then there's going to be like a normal setting which it normally gets on medium, and you can turn that up, and that's what I have on mine as a max resolution. And then again, as you scroll down, you see everything's pretty much almost on ultra, and then the reflection quality was medium, and I boosted it all the way up to high quality. So this is the maximum setting you can get with HDR running within inside the computer, and broadcasting into what I'm going to be doing is the purest encoding that I can do, which is my X264 through my Threadripper. So this is going to be pretty sweet 4K HDR, which I'm going to be testing. Because I also did buy an Avere HDR card to test if it is the cross cancellation of the Elgato. So we'll see exactly how that works out. With that being said, let me go ahead and quickly hit the benchmark. Sorry, I just saw like a little blip in the notification, and I was like, oh no, don't let it be internet, but it was fine. So, benchmark right off the bat, you saw 43 and a few other things that were kind of there. But let's see where we can kind of get that. And then I'll also run another non-UHD version, just so you guys and gals can kind of see what's going down there too as well. But this is going to be like more one of the funner things that you can kind of see and take in for pixel. I'm digging where the division itself, they continuously try to update. So, I mean, you can kind of see right there right off the bat, like you're going to kind of get a tiny bit of this like a etc. But that might be also where my encoding is coming into play. It might just be a little too heavy for it, but it hasn't told me that it is too much. But I can kind of see that versus my playback screen and that screen, there's just a slight hesitation. So I might unboot and reboot, and then you guys and gals can see the difference between very fast and I believe it's super fast before it goes into ultra fast, which is like the bare bones settings. But I can kind of see a little bit of a jitter rate, and it looks a lot more cleaner on that playback screen, and I want to showcase that. And it doesn't really sometimes showcase that until you actually put it into place, what's going on. But I want to do one clean run, then I'll unboot and reboot. It should be really quick and simple. Alright, we're coming around the end of zone 4. Alright, very nice. So 44, that's not too bad. It definitely went up. Let me go ahead and apply my settings. Go ahead and go to profile, right to high, directly put apply. That's not super fast. We're gonna go ahead and hit. One other thing too, I noticed that bit rate is struggling just a tiny bit. But I mean, I literally am sending 35 on the output. So let's go with 2500. Cut it down by 2.5 megabits. Hit apply. And then I'm going to go ahead and unsync and resync real fast. It'll be simultaneously basically for. And I'm back at the appropriate rating at the appropriate situation. So let's go ahead and rerun that bench test. And now you're going to see the difference between the two OBS settings, which is not what I initially planned to do, but it is kind of a fun thing to showcase as being a streamer and other people that are ascertaining OBS, which is your open broadcast source software. It's beautiful. I've met the creator many times. Great guy. Definitely support the dude 100%. I become very more, I guess, financially able to support people like that throughout the career that I'm doing. That is definitely one person that I would definitely love to help support, just because they're really great and they're just an amazing people. So let's go ahead and hit that benchmark. Enough about romanticizing about OBS. It's a great program. Check it out if you don't already have it. It helps out a lot for as far as just crunching. And they're doing major updates. There's a lot of cool major updates. So my processor went from like 40 to 30 to down to 16. So this is going to be a very clean transition. And one of the reasons why I want to showcase this is because I want to showcase the 60 frames running. Now, it almost seems like it's still there. Doesn't seem like it's as bad. And this is me going back to back with a really cool setting right there. Custom is basically ultra, but just respun correctly, which is pretty cool. You can just give the two settings of the shadowing points and the water reflection in order to really just bring out like a lot of the shadow casings. Alright, so I'm going to try one more thing just to see if it will help. We'll do one more bench test. Once it comes around the bend, which should be right around 45, 40 again. You can see like the CPU and the solidness of that GPU just in tandem to give me those frame rates per second. So back is bouncing between those 1 and 2, and you can see the major eruption happens between zone 2 and 3 for these settings directly, what is actually keying into it. But with that being said, I think this should be fine. Just give me 1 second. It's going to end the stream and reinitiate the stream one last time. If I can do this very fast. Alright, cool. Should have been fine. Should have been like almost simultaneous. So let's go back. We're going to go ahead at this point in time, see a fun situation that we can arise in this. We're going to go to the sweet spot. This is what I'm going to teach people, and then I'll show you what you can do if you're struggling even with that sweet spot. So rates being different. See medium right there. And what also changed was the shadow quality, because you can go up one step farther. So showing that, I do really want to show that before the sweet spot ends up. And don't forget, I've done this many of times where I've gone from custom and I didn't hit apply. And that's just a quick F double tap on your space bar and you're good to go. Running benchmarks, I've ran into that conundrum a few times. Let's go ahead and run this benchmark now with just the mediocre portion of what's going on. Nothing super crazy, but definitely your nice ultras for your AMD cards. And this generally should give us a nice playback. It shouldn't be that bad for any kind of frame situation of it bugging out. This is going to be Optimus Prime, you might say. So far, so good, and I'm digging where we're going with the load-ins. They're not that bad. Division, I like to think that they've done a great job of evolving the game from the beginning. So right out the gate, that was much cleaner. And at the very end, I will run one more ultra, as I like to call it, just to see if it was OBS acting up in the very beginning. Because this right here looks frame rate-tastic. I mean, my eyes look so glued to the screen of OBS rather than my screen playback, which still looks pretty good even on that UHD app, Ocean. So once we go back to the sweet spot, I'll circle back around too, and we'll run the HDR or UHD off just to show the contrast difference, because one of the things I did notice when I ran it through Elgato's 4K 60 frame Pro, their little flawless card, which is amazing. I love them. I love Elgato in general. They're great people. I've met them several times throughout conventions. Always very charming. You know, if you stream and you go to conventions, you see their booth, go say hi to them. If you see a guy named Paul, say, "I know Mac." He'll probably laugh. He'll be like, "Mac who?" Anyways, but long story short, great company. But I also had to adjust some of the settings within that capture card in order to get the nice median of what we're seeing, where you can actually see a lot of lights, because it comes out super dark. So if you're running HDR through that card, you are going to have to go through the configuration in order to make it like look a lot better when you're just running that, you know, PCIe 4 slot. Just your basic capture, but it's done really right. So you can see that we've gone up a lot solidly in like the 6 frames department of steadiness on the 40 Richter scale, and the frame rate drop between zone 2 and 3 is improved a lot with just those basic bare bones. We'll go ahead and hit my escape real fast. We're going to go ahead and go right load back in, and we'll go ahead and queue up the next segment of what we can get into for more benchmarks. I'm very excited to show like the difference between that, because then I get to hit default, and their default of just the regular 4K just send without the HDR pass through is actually really beautiful. Settings. It works out really well.
Tab left to go to home.
All right.
Tab right to go to.
Let's see here. We're gonna go to our sweet spot. So this is what is worked for the card. It looks fabulous. It gives you 60 frames plus. It's where you would want for if you were running 4K, because the realistic point is, unless you have about 1,000 to, oh, I don't know, $2,000 to just drop on a screen, which is pretty ludicrous in today's market. I wouldn't do that, honestly. I'd just wait for it to become more lucrative, where they drop the prices, where you get to 144 hertz, because that's where the sweet spots are going to be, and like the gaming FPS, where you really will have 4K taking the lead in like what people are utilizing as like performance portions. So I do want to glue to the point that like 60 frames is probably your sweet spot. You don't want anything too much, you don't want anything too low. You just want it to like run consistently inside of there. So if you do have heavy action, it's not dropping below that, it's staying right above. And I want that plus and positive. And it might maybe once or twice, but you can see right at the gate, it starts with a very strong 70 and then kind of drops a little bit. And you'll notice that the hard setting of the high portion, it doesn't see where it just barely trickles under there, but that's because it's loading in so much as it turns that corner past the fuselage, looking back at the like ruinable point of what looks like some kind of blasterless like DC setting, but it's not. It's the division setting, and you can just see how smooth that is. That this is what I would suggest if you have an AMD card, and it is that situation of awesomeness. This is what I would go into. But like I definitely dig like where everything is in the market of graphics cards nowadays. It's really, really fun to actually get down to testing different things, seeing what works in different systems. One of the things I've been trying to want to get to is putting like a better, I guess, card in my physics build, and see if that will have a playing part into it more, a current gen one. Because I've noticed that the other gens will work decent, but they're not always as reliable sometimes. So there you go, a little bit, just a hair below 60, but the consistency between those two are going to be really locked into it. So now you can go to one more setting, which I definitely dig and implore if people are having struggles. Like if you're still in the 40s or maybe 20s, you need to look at like what your card is. If you have like a 1060, then you're probably not going to be able to run that. Like Like, I tried to run it on my physics build, and I laughed at the FPS that I got. I was just like, you gotta be shitting me. This is why I got this Radeon card. This Radeon card totally saved my butt in this situation of just like being a decent gameplay card. It is not a good stream card right now, though. They need to do major updates.
Graphics.
So we'll go to medium.
Medium. Frame rate limit.
Hit apply.
On. Cycle with
Go ahead and hit confirm.
Limit the frame rate to achieve VSync contract benchmark. Benchmark.
Run our benchmark one more time. So medium's cool because this stays like within the nice sweet 70 to 80 zone. So this is like if you don't really care about too much stuff rendering in around you. It's not super noticeable, but you do get a very nice smooth swing around. Like that's one thing I did notice, but you can see the glossing on the water. It's even taking time to load in the reflectionable points of what are far. So it's like more of like a shadowing point where your eyes peripheral will notice it, but it's not really anything super noticeable. But look at that FPS. I mean, it is pretty sweet, especially when it's swinging directly into section 2, going towards section 3 as we round about and start turning to the left. So solid. It's just solid. 80 to 90. I mean, you can't beat that. I mean, there's no way that someone's going to get the super edge on you because you're able to kind of like flip around. It's better than console because console's still rocking like a solid 30 frames. Like, and you have the chance of those 30 frames being subject to pixel drops. They can do anything from like, I think the lowest I was like reading into is like 980 pixels, which is below 1080p, which is pretty bad. I mean, that in general standpoints, I mean, I don't know, like my eye gradient would notice that instantly. I'd be like, okay, this looks bad. This just plainly looks bad. Cool. So, with that being capped and us looking at these situations now, let's go ahead and go to our final test for FPS awesomeness. Now this is if you can't run anything and you just want the bare bones, or you just want a really fast refresh rate in 4K. It's okay, but man, I can't tolerate it. That's why I like the high, medium, maybe, like entry, Twinment, more likely the highest ones, because it's just, it works really well with the computer build that I have, even with the 6700K, which is not a great processor, but it's not a bad processor. It's just kind of like, you know. Intel has better stuff, and AMD definitely has better stuff on the market nowadays that swamps that stuff for 4K and the usage of that. But let's go ahead and go back to graphics, and we're gonna go ahead and break it down.
Graphics.
Alright.
Graphics quality.
Low as possible. So if you can kind of see right there, everything just drops off the board. Resolution scale, everything. Just bam. Now you could toy around with a lot of these and go through the I guess, picking and choosing, like your shadowing, trying to pick and choose your water reflective surfaces, your subsurface scattering, like has been turned off. You can go through all these situations, and like those are one of the ones you're going to want a situation and see the vegetation, so it's like trees and all the other stuff, the way it renders in, fog, all the other stuff. But mainly, this is where you're going to want to do resolution scale, which renders. So it's like everything is down to the bare bones that you can possibly figure out. Well, hey, will this run? So let's go ahead and hit our apply and benchmark our way to about 130 FPS at least. It's crazy like how it doubles overnight. Like I can't not like enjoy how fast the frame rate is, but the playback screen isn't fast enough to catch it, so it's a bummer, but it's the reality of it. Straight out the gate was 160. That was crazy. Definitely looks smooth, but you can just tell it's struggling, like in the backgrounds and rendering. Stuff just popping into plain view out of nowhere. It's like, hi, I exist now and only now. Okay. So now with that roundabout situation and us getting this, let's go ahead and go away from the HDR in a good second. And I'm going to show you guys and gals the difference of the settings of the HDR flop over. Show me the money. It could be 120 too, like for frame rates, but it's definitely going to be the high, stronger portions of that triple digits. Show me the money. 131, very nice. Everything's stable, everything looks sweet. So, check this out. So if I go to default, that's how dark it is instantaneously, like what it's supposed to be, unaffected. And let's just say, for instance, I want to, let's go output and reestablish that. Apply. And we will reapply this with this. Apply. Doing that. Alright, so it should have caught itself where now it's like utilizing all cores to the maximum. And we're going to go back and do one thing I wanted to try. So this is us utilizing max proportionable rig,
Settings.
HDR, normal, benchmark only on the situation of the high rise of what I guess Elgato's limitation at this point in time is.
Graphics quality.
I like them. I really hope that they definitely snuck an update in the HDRs of where they come from, but it's nothing super. How can I say this?
Limit the frame rate.
I don't think it really plays friendly with splitters. I don't think it does that well, but who knows? In future updates, what they won't bring.
Benchmark graphics.
Alright, so run this benchmark. And then we're going to go to non-HDR mode. That UHD will be gone. It definitely looks beautiful though when it's like fully out there. I just wish the frames were faster. My processor probably hates me right now. It's like, you pick and choose when you want to abuse. I'm like, yeah, my constant bit rate. Okay. 43. Oh, 46. Oh, it's still an ultra. It didn't go to the highest setting. Oh well. So let me go ahead and pop open what I have in the background. Give it a second. Voila. Vis-a-vis. Non-HD. Just plain 4K 60 frame. But you can see the instantaneous difference. It's pretty crazy. There we go. Go ahead and back out. We'll start at the top with a nice polished up version of the Ultra and work our way down to the regular one so we can see the differences of what I guess the standard portion of running through PC and having it in HDR and running it through stream and Elgato, and instantaneously it bogged my processor. That's crazy. 51%. I'm still gonna try it.
Language.
Honestly, if it'll work, but I might have to change it midstream. So let's try the ultimate test. Gameplay.
Distance units. Key map video graphics quality. Cycle with left custom. Frame rate limit. Contact shadows. Spot shadow quality. Hot. Very hot. Spot contact resolution scale. Volume trick reflection quality. Medium. Sight hot low. Meet hot low. Meet hot low. Hot. Local reflection quality. Very hot. Cycle with left or right. Set the render volume trick fog.
Alright.
Ultra. Cycle with left or right. Set the rendering quality of fog volumes. The higher the setting, the better the fog quality.
Now that I have that saved,
benchmark.
It's time for the benchmark.
Keep video.
So you can see there's a lot more color. It doesn't look as like, I kind of like the non like gameplay version of it, but damn, right when that happened, shazzle. So it kind of stuttered there for a split second. I'll see how that looks in gameplay. The playback right around that turn. That one wasn't the game, that was the encoder. Not a bad run. Did drop below 40 there for a split second. But, I mean, all things considered, that was pretty sweet. So I'm going to do one more run. I think I've showed a lot and of the variations, and I'm going to go back to, that was on my changing the processor settings. Let's need to do that yet again. It twigged out there. I feel like that didn't do that fair justice. Alright.
Settings.
Alright, let's run our benchmark.
Tab right to go to patch notes.
And then I'll show the sweet spot and the low spot yet again. The other two, it shouldn't be that bad. I mean, we've already seen export Ultra, and this is the Ultra. We know that there's literally just an FPS gain of probably roughly about 3, versus when you go to the high setting, you get about 13 FPS gain, which is insanely good. It's very good. So this straight off the bat is going to work better. I already know, because, I mean, the process is barely computing at 26%. It likes it. Alright, coming around that bend. Looks like we're almost back to zone 3. Well, you know, I probably could get away with just doing the high setting, because we already know what the low setting is. It's just going to be a variation of almost like a 1.25 increasement on your frame rate. So I'm like, you're literally for every 1, you're getting a 1.25 and above that. So it's pretty good. It's like almost like a 60% increase on frame rates.
Settings.
Alright.
Graphics.
Back to that sweet spot. So again, I just utilize their custom like high setting, hit apply, double tap, and let's run our final benchmark. That way it also keeps the video at roughly about 30 minutes, maybe a little longer, 35 at most. See, that's just the perfect blend of nice. Everything renders in smoothly. It works so well. Fun to watch. It's like that's for me like one of the things that I look at is like, is this fun to look at? Or is this just like a constant headache sometimes because things are just constantly moving your eyes to directions you shouldn't be as things render in, or there's a glitch in the matrix, you know, so to speak. It causes you to like look the other way. So it's like game development is really great. I like where it's gone. Like especially now running a lot more stuff on PC. I'm hoping by Tuesday I should be able to run some like newer tests. Hopefully getting a more superior version. Because once I can run stream HDR through the bypass and go to the TV, that's when it's gonna not even pick up. It's just gonna run HDR by itself, which is gonna be great. Alright. That coming up, that is going to be, drum roll, shabam. Got another 59 finishing off. So there's no real increasements or decreasements, seems like, for turning up or down the gameplay HDR increasement, which is your normal UHD to applets. They're applicable, not necessarily your physical computer. I mean, I like it, I don't like it, but I just like the look of the way that they does it with the stream video HDR through Windows 10. It just looks so great. It's beautiful. Anyways, this is your boy Mac signing off. If you're new to the channel and you have just finished this and stayed tuned for roughly about 35 minutes, you should consider subscribing. It's absolutely free, helps me as a creator, spread the word. I'll never ask for anything. I always just say stay tuned, have fun. If my videos give you fun facts and you enjoy it, give me a nice like sub. Helps the whole search engine like optimization run really well. If you didn't like it, give it a down thumbs up. They also have a search optimization that works really well with that too. So either way, your view counts, and I appreciate that you spent that much time. So your boy Max says peace and thanks, and I'll see you guys and gals in the future.